Today, we are going on a journey, but not to some new place, to a whole new way of thinking. We're going to retrace the steps we've taken to build a personal toolkit for critical thinking, one that can literally transform how you see information, arguments, and, well, pretty much the whole world around you. Let's get started. Does this feel familiar? I bet it does. We are just constantly bombarded with information, with opinions that are dressed up as facts, and arguments that, honestly, crumble the second you look at them closely. This whole journey is about giving you the tools to cut right through that noise and find the real signal. All right, level 1, learning the rules of logic. Our journey had to start at the foundation, right? Forging those fundamental tools of reason. First things first, what exactly is an argument? It's not a shouting match, that's for sure. In logic, an argument is simply a claim that's backed up by reasons. You know, the sky is blue is just a statement. But the sky is blue because of how light scatters in the atmosphere, now that is an argument. Spotting that simple structure is the very first step to thinking critically. But, as we learned, not all arguments are created equal. You got two main paths. Deductive reasoning, that's the one that aims for absolute certainty. If your starting points are true, the conclusion is guaranteed. Think of it like a math proof. Then you have inductive reasoning. That one deals in probability. It builds a case that something is likely true. Knowing the difference between these two is absolutely key to figuring out what someone is really trying to say. And once you learn the rules of the game, you get really good at spotting a foul. We learned how to identify logical fallacies, those common traps that make weak arguments seem way stronger than they are. From points that are totally irrelevant to evidence that's just flimsy, and even looking inward at our own biases. You now have the gear to see right through the deception. Which brings us to level 2, speaking the language of data. Okay, so we've got the rules of logic down. Now it's time to apply them to the world of numbers and turn all that noise into meaning. We kicked things off with probability, and it turns out it's not nearly as scary as it sounds. It really just boils down to a simple 4-step process. You start with an experiment, you list out all the possible outcomes, you identify the one specific thing you're interested in, and then you calculate the chances. This simple framework brings so much clarity to uncertainty. And think about this. We all use the word average all the time, but what does it really mean? It could be the mean, which is what we usually think of, or it could be the median, the one in the middle, or even the mode, the most common one. Knowing the difference is so crucial for understanding if a statistic is giving you the full picture or just a very convenient and maybe misleading snapshot. So take a look at this. At first glance, this chart is screaming incredible growth, right? I mean, this year's bar is towering over last year's. But a trained analyst, someone like you now, knows to pause and ask a very important question. What am I not seeing here? And there it is, the trick. By chopping off the bottom of the graph and not starting the axis at 0, a pretty small change is visually blown up to look absolutely massive. This is a huge skill you've picked up, to read not just the data, but how the data is being presented and to spot when someone is trying to pull a fast one. So that brings us to level 3, seeing the unseen picture. This is where we combine our logic and our data skills to see the bigger picture, to spot those hidden traps, and even to start predicting trends. Now, this might be the single most important lesson in all of analytics. Correlation is not causation. You've heard it a million times. Ice cream sales go up in the summer, and you know what else does? Shark attacks. But one does not cause the other. A trained analyst always looks for that hidden variable. In this case, it's just the hot weather. This one simple distinction is your shield against a world of false conclusions. And we can't forget that data can be biased before a single number even gets crunched. Is the sample of people they talk to actually representative? Are people answering truthfully? Who funded the study in the first place? Asking these kinds of skeptical questions is now a core part of your analytical toolkit, and it makes you a much, much smarter consumer of information. Okay, now for a really powerful prediction tool, the regression line. Just imagine a cloud of data points all over a graph, a total mess. The regression line is like drawing one single straight line right through that cloud that best captures the overall trend. It finds the signal in all that noise, and it turns a messy plot into a clear equation we can actually use to make predictions. But you know what they say, with great power comes great responsibility. Predicting a value within the range of your data, that's called interpolation. It's a pretty safe, educated guess. But predicting far beyond the edge of your data, that's extrapolation. And that, my friends, is a leap of faith. Knowing the difference is absolutely essential for making responsible forecasts. And that brings us to the transformation, your new analytical superpower. So let's just step back. You've completed the journey. What have you actually gained? Because it's a lot more than just a few handy skills. It's a powerful new way of seeing.
So here it is, your completed toolkit. You have a magnifying glass for logic to deconstruct any argument and spot the flaws. You have a measuring tape for data to describe the world with real accuracy. You have a blueprint for bias to see the hidden traps in how data is collected. And yeah, you even have a bit of a crystal ball for trends to model relationships and make truly informed predictions. Each one of these tools builds on the last, creating a powerful analytical mindset.
So, we end with a question, one that's pointed squarely at the future. You have the tools now. You've learned to see the patterns that most people miss. So, what will you build?